On this Build, Tune, Race podcast, I talked to Lyle Barnett. We talk all things drag reel racing and what it's taken for them to set the Leaf Spring World Record, as well as safety. Lyle was in a very unfortunate accident a few years ago, and he's learned a lot from it and talks about the whole accident here on this podcast. So please remember to be safe. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. So what are you guys doing with right now with the car and stuff? What's the next race? What's the plans?
Well, we had some lifter failure in Georgia. So we came back to the shop, motor came back out, had to fix what little bit of damage it did. Me and the guys at the shop put it back together. We've maxed out the billet atomizer 800s, and duty cycle was way up. Pete said, man, we've got to make a change. We got to get some more fuel in this thing. So Jack French, big thanks to him at Billet Atomizer, hooked us up with another set of injectors. So we got a dual set on there now, and just got all that plumbed and wired in this week. Got it running, stuck it on the dyno today. That's why I'm late. I wasn't expecting to be driving home this late, but we spent the last half of the afternoon and into tonight on the dyno, getting those things dialed in and working good. And we plan to head to Galat this weekend for the first stop of the Carolina No Time Small Tire Series. Lance Stanford and Travis Harvey have put this deal together for the past couple of years. Really cool, a clocks off, no time deal. So we plan to head there tomorrow. Dad and I'll head out, get set up, maybe make a few shakedowns tomorrow night, races Saturday, weather permitting, and that's going to be our next stop. So we're pumped up, excited to get kind of a new setup to us going, and then get ready to try to knock Shane Stack out in the LDR series this year. He's been pretty dominant. Started out the year hot and won in Georgia, but I got a set of Leaf Springs I'm ready to run slam up in him, so we'll see how it works out.
That's the thing. You guys definitely have more grudge racing back east. It seems like a lot of grudge racing, a lot of personal matchups and stuff back there.
Yeah, it's I would say, and some of like 6 Mile Randy from up there and Chicago stuff may disagree, but I would say the Southeast has some of the hottest grudge game there is out there right now. It's everywhere. I mean, I can be, living in the greater Charlotte area, I can go to a grudge race any weekend within, 2 to 3 hours. And I mean, there might be more than one. I would have to pick and choose. So it's definitely hot here. The no time stuff is big. It's cool. It's the only downside or, thing that I kind of don't like about it, if there's anything to dislike, is that, racing at Darlington, which is a big sponsor of mine, and I'd like to thank them. Theirs, I think, is arguably the best radial track in existence, at least in the States. And we go there for a lot of no time stuff, run a lot of personal best, and you can't really claim it.
Right.
Because the no time deal, is supposed to be no time, and that's just kind of the way it works. But the no time deal is fun. It's kind of a gamble. Kind of feel like you're at some casino in Vegas or something. You roll up there and walk up to a driver's meet and you draw a chip. If say you were on a qualifying ladder, you might draw as a number 1 qualifier. You might draw the number 2 qualifier first round. It's just luck of the draw. You just never know who you're going to get. And the tough part around here is, we've got some of the fastest, if not the fastest guys on radials around us. Ziff Hudson is local, one of the fastest on 275s. Barry Mitchell was local. Bumblebee is here. Our car is running pretty good, and up front, Jason Digby's Dart. So a lot of the fastest radial guys are local. So we're not cherry picking when we go to the racetrack here. I'm not knocking anybody anywhere else, but there's some fast guys out there that can go to their local racetrack and just, take candy from babies. But around here, you don't do that. You got to come with your A game if you're going to run any radial stuff in the Southeast, and which I think makes us good. I think it makes us better racers. It makes Pete a better tuner, us a better team. You don't just come and lackadaisically roll into the racetrack, and go out there and click them off and win races. You got to run fast. And this weekend's the same way. We won't go to Galat and enter the no time 28.275 and just roll them up. We're going to have to go bottom of our best or our best to run up front. And I think we benefit from that, but it makes it tough. You really have to lean on your equipment to do that. And I think in the long run, it makes us better racers.
Sure, absolutely, man. That's what it's about. If the more fast people you have around you, always pushes you to be faster, I guess, and you learn from them, or you drives you harder to push further to leverage on the parts a little bit more and try to do what you can do to be ahead of them, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of makes you innovative. You're having to find little tweaks and quirks and stuff here and there to make your combination a little bit faster, and then you got to try to hide it, and it does make it fun. You don't want to give away. I guess it's a little easier to hide secrets in this deal because we're primarily computer controlled. So if you've got any little deals worked out or whatever going on, it's makes it fun. But I've got in my mind, and I think there are several that would agree, I've got one of the best teams out there. We're Pete Harrell is, I think, if not the best, one of the best turbo tuners, EFI tuners out there, and a damn good engine builder. He builds nice stuff. Great on the keyboard when it comes to tuning. It's spoken for itself. Brad Edwards was the first of the threes several years ago, and and we hold the leaf spring world record. Mark Rogers with his Ultra Street car had the turbo record for a little while. Tony Alm edged him out a touch earlier this year. So that part of our program is second to none. And then Eric Yost owns Customs by Biggin here in Mooresville. He just unbelievable chassis work, chassis setup. We depend on him, wholeheartedly and completely when it comes to that stuff. He's just awesome at what he does. He's a small shop. Biggins, or Eric Yost, Biggins shop and Pete Shopper within about 100 yards of each other, and we go to lunch with each other every day, and he's just really good at what he does. Just awesome chassis setup. He's spent a lot of time figuring it out, research it. He's got a good handle on setup itself. And Jason Digby, nobody could ever say enough about him. He's given us just free reign. We've got his car and all of his equipment and a large part of his checkbook. And he depends on us and puts a lot of faith in us. And we do what we can. We try to make him proud. So I think we've done pretty good, and obviously so, because he hasn't came and repoed his race car yet, and my name's still on the windows of the passenger and driver door. So I think I can't say enough about the guys at the shop, Gabe, Tommy, Brubaker, and our new guy Jesse. They work hard every day, and when we tear shit up, and bring it in the shop, they don't mind staying after to get it done. So that I can't say enough. My dad, he's the one that got me started in this. A lot of people don't know. Dad drag raced back in the late 80s and early 90s, and when I came along, he stepped out, and I was actually going to drive late models, roundy round. And he said, well, what do you think about drag racing? That's what he's comfortable with, what he knows. And I was down for whatever if it meant going fast. So
Sure, absolutely.
we bought a 7.0 index car, and it's been on like Donkey Kong from there.
Yeah, man. So I guess I got a few questions, but we'll go over those here in a little bit too. But if you kind of go back to the beginning of all that, then what's kind of your background in racing, and what have you done then, starting there, or just in cars in general? I mean, apparently you've grown up with it, but
yeah, I grew up on, with a little dirt bike and a four wheeler. Flirted around with some, not really race, but messing around with some motocross stuff, and just didn't quite have the cojones to do it when it came to jumping those things and all this jazz. So one of my good friends from home, Clint, he got into late model racing. That's what his dad did, and I wanted to follow his footsteps. So we started looking around, and Dad, we've never no history in my family whatsoever around racing. So we got into drag racing. Ran a 7.0 index car, won my first race that first year in the PTRA, the Pro Tree Racers Association, here out of North Carolina. Tony Brown runs it. Went from 7.0 to 6.0 and ran 6.0 for just a little bit and went to X275. Back when X275 was running 530s.
Yeah.
And built a big block nitrous car, a third-gen Camaro, ugly as hammered sin. Ran that for a little bit. When we started running, mid fives, and they were running 530s. When we started running 530s, they ran 5 teens. When we got to the teens, they were in the O's. Then it got to 490, and it was like like you dropped it out of an airplane, 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s. But I ran X275 for a while in my own car. And then Tommy Kirk, that owns MacFab, built the Blue Goose. I drove it. Drove a little bit of everything here and there. We were in between combinations, figuring out what we were going to do. Tommy Kirk just gave his car up, said, "Here, go race it." We all raced together. And then my dad and Chad Branson, who is known for driving the Dart, late 60s or early 70s Dart, that had the airplane theme wrap P101 down the side, single turbo deal. Okay. My dad and Chad went in together and bought the Corvette from Barry Mitchell. We finished it, put it together. Eric Yost, Customs by Biggin, did all the fab work. Pete did the motor. It was a Brad 6 that Pete Harrell HED did. We got that deal together. Really cool car, and obviously, about 8 months into that deal, I had the bad crash there and fire at SGMP, and unfortunately, man, we lost it all. The chassis was junk, motor and drivetrain, motor, everything was good, but lost my dream, my Radial versus the World car. We lost. So, that was a tough deal for all of us. Losing that car, and then the fire and an extensive stay in the burn unit and everything that transpired from that. It was tough. For a while, I wasn't too worried about the race car. We lost the race car, but I'm still here. That's all fine and well. But you get back, get home, get to kind of analyzing what's going on, and man, it's tough. That car is at my shop. I see it pretty often, and tough to see that thing back there burn up like that, and knowing now what the potential that it had, and just tough, man. It's tough deal to go through.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because you guys only had that car out once before that event?
Well, it had been together and running about 8 months, but just figuring out a brand new, we built that thing or put it together from a bare chassis to a running Radial versus the World car. So with injector change, it just, different stuff going on. didn't really get it sorted out until, like the month before I went to local track Piedmont Dragway in Greensboro, and just kind of pecking with it, just trying to figure it out, and actually went to the finals, the first real race we had it out with. And, like I'd said before, we had a lot of confidence in it, man. It was really, really making strides in the right direction. Still not perfect, but, we felt like we had something to work with, something we'd go to Georgia, really figure out what it's got and figure out what changes we need to make to get, into the 3-second zone. And unfortunately, it dropped an injector and had the 16 injector setup, and it dropped the one. Number 8 went dead lean, and that was it, man. It burnt between the head and the block, and set it on fire. Just really the worst case scenario deal, with 50 pounds of boost, alcohol and oil. It turned it into a blowtorch, and unfortunately I got the block there at the shop, and it just perfect angled it right towards the driver's compartment.
Jeez.
And just, man, it was just the worst, the perfect storm. If when it comes to just, it couldn't have been any worse. But it's unfortunately for the drag racing world, I think racing in general, we're all a pretty reactive group instead of a proactive group.
Sure.
I think there's been a lot learned from my crash. But man, you just hate, you hate that it takes something like that to open the eyes of those around you and your fellow competitors. That's just not the way it should be. But I think when it comes to things like this, that's just kind of what it takes. They didn't start wearing full-faced and good helmets in football until somebody got their gourd knocked off, so that's
Sure.
just kind of the way it works. Unfortunate, for myself, for our team, everybody that had to live through that and deal with it. But we've came back pretty strong. So it sucks. I'm still don't have any eyebrows or anything, but we'll be all right without them. I swim faster.
Right. Weight reduction at that point. No, man, it's pretty incredible what you've went through, and then turned around and got right back in a car.
Right.
Of any caliber, but of a pretty significant caliber. How fast have you guys been with the dart?
Yeah, so we I didn't really know, that was a common question even in the burn unit, like, what do you think? You're gonna get back in? And at that time I didn't know, it was still was at the forefront of my mind, and a tragic deal, and I didn't know. And I got home and kind of started easing around the shop a little more. And then I went to South Georgia, in February after my wreck, which was, less than 6 months. And I knew then there, I was like, even if I just get back in one and come back here and make a rip, if I don't want any more of it, then that's fine. And Dad was like, dude, whatever you want to do, if you're done, we can keep going and helping. If you're done, well, we're done, whatever. So I got back. I ran a little bracket, like a 650 7.0 bracket truck earlier in the summer. And then in the fall of that year, in talking with Jason, I wanted to go fast again, and
Sure.
I think he would. It was more of a pleasure to him to know that I wanted to do it in his car than anything else. And so I climbed in that thing and went to Darlington, Jimmy Bradshaw, and the house that Russell Miller built, Dana and Dee Dee and all those guys there, Rhett and Tyler. They had the track ready, and I was one of very few at the track, and I climbed right back in and was just as comfortable as I'd ever been. A little nervous going there, a little nervous getting in, but when you hit the starter button on that thing and put a little heat in the tires, there's nothing like it. And I knew I was good. I was okay. And we actually went the fastest that day than the car had ever been, which was in the 440s. And then it got cold. We shut down for the year. made a few changes to the car. We went. I called Jimmy Bradshaw at Darlington on the way. We were going to Bradenton, and I said, Jimmy, I'm leaving my shop in a couple hours. Take me 2 to get there. You got about 5 hours. Can you get the track ready? Yeah, man, I got you. So he gets on the tractor, starts spraying the dog shit out of it, scraping it, fucking dragging it, and I get there. I'm the only car there.
Wow.
So unload, track's ready. We go out there and unofficially break the leaf spring world record. It went a 31 that day. We went on down to Bradenton. Officially set it. Went into the 20s. And then we went to South Georgia. Officially set the actual leaf spring world record. We went 424, and then ended up, winning that deal. And I don't know that you could have written the story any better.
Sure.
A very emotional deal for all of us. To qualify number 1, set the world record, and then go down there and win at the track that I nearly lost my life at, was huge. I'll never forget it. To win one of Donald Long's races is, in the radial world, is it. Like, that's what everybody strives to do. But to do it, the timing, to be my first race back there, to set the record, to qualify number, you just couldn't have written it any better. And
No,
it was just a cool deal. I can't thank everybody that's involved enough. They made that pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you were going through all that with your accident and everything, that the amount of people that got behind you and were just posts and updates, and just everybody is
Right.
pretty awesome to see for the sport. Just everybody try to get together and support you. And
Yeah, man, we had, it was instant, the support and help that my family and myself received. There were stickers on cars. Tommy Kirk got stickers made. There were stickers on cars the next day after I wrecked at South Georgia. The GoFundMe account was just booming. I had the most visitors and the most mail sent there to that burn unit, with the exception of the drummer Travis Barker. I'm sure some people know who he is. That they had ever seen. The most visitors by far. There were people that came to the burn unit more than one time and never got to come back and see me because the visiting hours were very slim there. My family had just a few hours a day. And there were many times people came and never got to see me, and then there were lots that came and did get to come back. But dude, the support, the racing community as a whole, they're second to none. I'll try not to say any names because I'll miss somebody who probably did more than others or whatever. Not that you can gauge support in that when it comes to a situation like that. But guy that one of Dwayne Mills' crew members off racing not long ago, house caught on fire, burned it to the ground, lost everything he had. And before he got home, there were people from the racing community sending supplies, money, clothing, furniture, and the racing community is just one big family. There's lots of rivalries. There's lots of, shit talking here and there and whatnot. But when it comes down to it, if you need something, if you're in a pinch or in a time of need, the racing community is a good place to be, because it is just unbelievable the amount of support that they provided for me and my family through our deal. My dad posted over 200 updates, I think, well over 100, I know, between my crash and when he quit, posting updates, and there were thousands of shares, thousands of comments. Man, it's just unbelievable how tight knit the racing community really is. We're spread out all over the world, but when it comes down to it, I just don't think there's anything like it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what a deal you had to go through. But so how long were you in? I guess from kind of your recovery, how long did that all take? I read an article today, but for the people that don't know and
Right.
stuff like that.
So I crashed on September the 24th of 2015. Was airlifted later that night to the burn center in a JMS burn center at the Doctors Hospital in Augusta, Georgia. I spent November 1st is when I got in the motorhome and went home. So 40 some days, and the majority of that, all but like 5 to 7 days, somewhere in there, was spent in ICU. Golly, man, I can't remember how many grafting surgeries, and I was only burnt like 15%, but it was my hands, my feet, and my face. But the worst part was my lungs. It burnt my lungs up pretty good. I inhaled a lot of that during the crash, and so that's what I struggled with the most. And what ultimately nearly took my life was the burns to my lungs. So that part of the recovery in the hospital is tough, but the real struggle comes when you go home. You don't have that doctor with the IV where you're feeling some significant pain. They can give you a little something and help you out. When you get home is when the real struggle starts. And it was a full year. I mean, it takes a full year to, and you fully recover, but you never go back to what you were before. When you have burns like that, it's just, you lose mobility. I lost the half of my tear ducts in the sense that they don't drain; they run down my face. So I'll deal with that for unfortunately for life, but better than the alternative of having no tears at all. But you deal. I mean, it's very rigorous physical therapy. I went for 4 months to the local place, which those people are angels in my mind. They did just an unbelievable job getting me back to normal. But just as important as your physical therapy there is your physical therapy at home. And I had a total of 3 nurses that took care of me at home. So it's a full year to fully recover from something like that, just no matter which way you look at it. And then laser treatments start, and I'm a little over right at 2.5 years from the accident, and I've still got some plastic surgery to be done on my hands here in the near future. So it's just, man, they're tough. The burns are just the worst injury that the human body can endure to recover from. And it's been tough, but I think I've handled it pretty well, and I've had a pretty easy road when it comes to that stuff. I've got good friends, Wayne Hawkins, Keith out of Florida, that I talk with pretty often, and they had more large joint burns that, and their recovery was a good bit tougher than what I dealt with, and not calling them old men, but I was 24 years old when I got in my crash. Both of those were well into their 40s or 50s, and so my age and being in good health helped a lot. So the recovery itself was pretty tough, and it continues to be tough, but definitely blessed. The good Lord was looking after me. So
Absolutely.
but we're fighting right on through it.
That's it, man. You're getting back into it, and you didn't not letting it hinder you as much as some people might, and you're just doing what you got to do. That's
Right.
pretty it's a massive day. But so I guess if you through all that, what have you, or if you, there's a lot of racers that watch talking about safety equipment. What's your take on it, man?
No such thing as enough.
Sure.
I'd argue it till I'm blue in the face, man. It's I think, and I'm not knocking the bracket guys or the grudge guys, but I see more lack of safety in the bracket world and in the grudge racing world than I do anywhere else. And I haven't quite, I guess maybe safety tech is not quite as rigorous at those places.
Sure.
I I don't know, but at the same time, when it comes to that, it's almost like you're putting a value on your life. What is your life worth?
Right.
I fortunately had on a good suit. I had on a 15 impact suit, and it did its job. My hands are burnt because I had 5 gloves on, and that's my fault.
Sure.
My feet are burnt because I had 5 shoes on. That's my fault. My face is burnt because I had my shield up. That's my fault. Just an oversight. Got comfortable in the car. Shield was up. No face mat or no head sock. Just an oversight, and I paid for it. Unfortunately, I nearly paid the ultimate price, but there's just no such thing as enough. If you're in an alcohol fed boosted combination, if you don't have at least 15 on, you've lost your mind. You're stupid. I mean, dude, and anything for that matter. If you're in a heads up combination, if you've got a heads up car, because there are hardly any heads up, at least in the radial world, that aren't running well into the 4-second range. Most of them are boosted, big nitrous motors. Wayne Hawkins, my good buddy from North Carolina, that had the Pro Mod wreck, nitrous car running bottom 4.0s and got burnt. I'm talking about bad. Had 5 stuff on. Just, I mean, not that they didn't know any better, just had never had to deal with anything like that. Nobody had ever really gotten hurt bad, but man, there's just no such thing as enough. I wear 20 everything, 20 boots. I wear 5 shoes, 20 over boots, a 20 suit, 20 gloves. Got a big skirt on my helmet, the thick shield, head sock. I mean, I wear 20 gloves. I wear it all. Because every second, when it comes to a crash like that, when it comes to a big fire, every second matters. My 15 suit was just enough. It burnt through in a couple places, but I've got very small burns where I had on the right stuff. So fresh air, you need it. If Ziff Hudson had a good fire at Orlando, fresh air in his car, said he never smelt smoke, never tasted nothing until he unplugged his helmet and got out is when he smelled it. So, I mean, that's
pretty crazy.
There's just no such thing as enough. The grudge guys, I think, are just they're bizarre. I don't understand. I go to grudge events. I enjoy the grudge scene. Walk up in the water box, look over at somebody in a bottom 4-second car, no gloves on. Like,
right.
I'm not going to mention any names. A dirt bike helmet, blue jeans,
jeez,
tennis shoes, and a paper thin jacket. Like, I know they think, well, I can get out. Well, what if you're knocked out? What if the driver's side of your car is pinned up against the wall? What are you going to do? It's up to whoever can get to you first. Well, and I think there's a lot of tracks have taken the initiative and upgraded their safety program, but what if they don't have the right stuff? What if all they've got is a couple of fire extinguishers that 2 guys are running at you with? I mean, if they're at the starting line or at the finish line or in the shutdown and you wreck it 3/4 to half track, somebody's got to run to 300 and some feet.
Sure.
I mean, so when it comes to that stuff, I wish that some people would take a look at the video that Jimmy Biggs and RJS did with me, and just take it serious, man. It's not that hard to you spend all this money on go fast parts, lightweight stuff, but you skimp out and go cheap on your safety equipment. And if and some people say that stuff's too expensive, whatever. if you can afford to race, you can afford good safety equipment, period. And I went to a seminar at PRI with Stand 21, and there was a guy there. They were more focusing on concussions, which is a whole nother bag of worms we can open. But there was a guy there that asked, well, why is it so expensive? Well, I mean, it's probably not cheap. I don't know how expensive it is to make a suit, but I know it's not cheap. Helmets are carbon. But, and somebody else in there, turned, and not being, mean or anything, but was like, well, where do you value your life? How much is your life worth? And that shuts that argument right down. If you can afford to participate in this sport, you can afford good safety equipment, period. And there's no exception to that rule.
Absolutely, man. That's what, it's crazy that you see that, and then the no prep and the lack of some of the tech I've seen at some of those deals, and it's pretty crazy. You definitely got to be out looking for yourself.
Right.
And I mean, you had on good stuff.
Right.
And it's crazy. Like, I was looking at some of the pictures today, and I read the little story in it. People see the picture of your helmet. That's just incredible. Like, I guess on one of in the article I read, it said literally the belt, and it shows the picture, right, where the belt's melted off.
Yes. Yeah. They so I during the crash, the fire immediately came into the cockpit of the car, and I was off of the brakes, not touching the steering wheel. So, the car was kind of out of control. So it hit the nose into the left wall. And when it did that, it exploded the fuel cell, fire got hotter. But when it rolled to a stop, racers know you take your belts off, undo your window net, Hans device if you can, or radio, steering wheel off. Man, I didn't do any of that. And which I still have my beliefs on who was with me. And sure. I had somebody there, but I didn't do any of that. It melted the belts off at the adjusters, everywhere. Which is, I mean, you think about that. Like, I mean, that was a pretty concentrated fire to do that. I didn't undo anything. I raked across the door jamb, which is where the handle was. Door came open and I flopped out. Barry Mitchell had hopped the wall, ran to the driver's side. It was, the fire was coming out of the door, ran back to the passenger side. And as he ran to the passenger side, I came around the back of the car. He was there and, and laid me down, and they started taking care of me. But yeah, I mean, it melted all the belts off of me, which is just, man, lucky. I mean, they lasted sure. just long enough. They held me in good for the crash, and then came off of me when it mattered, which is, I mean, you really think about that, and that's just bizarre. But
yeah, that's insane. When I read that, man, I was like, wow, that's something else. But to know that you had the fire suit on that didn't burn you as bad where the belts were at, that just shows how close. Like, you're engulfed, you're in it, and then
right.
But as bad as it was, it kind of worked out, which is just insane. But
yeah, man, it pretty bad deal. About as bad as an in-car fire, or a fully engulfed in-car fire can be. I mean, they just can't get much worse than that. But all the equipment, chassis did its job. The right safety equipment that I was wearing did its job. Everything did its job. If I just a couple oversights on my part, that would have prevented the severe burns that I got. But I think that overall, I hate that not only myself but my family, my loved ones and everything had to deal with what I went through. But the sport as a whole, I think, is a safer sport now. They talked about the people there that that had head socks and, you know, and different safety equipment at that particular race sold out that night and the next day.
Wow.
But yeah, and that's good. I'm glad people took
Absolutely.
it upon themselves to go do it. But that also shows how unsafe the sport was. You know, if that many people, you know, saw my fire and were like, oh shit, you know, I better go upgrade my stuff. You know, that just goes to show how. And I'm glad that all those guys are much safer now. And I just got my new Stand 21 suit came in the mail actually yesterday. I got a one-piece deal. You know, I went to their seminar, and you know, we got to talking about fires in the car and how a two-piece has a gap, and I just, you know, I'm not taking any chances. So I got a nice one-piece from Stand 21, really one-off custom, just all my sponsor logos and a really nice piece. So now I'm teamed up with them, and then I still use RJS stuff. So, you know, it's I think overall the sport's safer, but there's still a lot of people out there that drag race and, you know, any form of racing that are not safe. And I just hope that if this message, this video, one day I just don't want to see anybody get hurt. You know, unfortunately, the year after I think my crash, the Grudge World lost Bebe was his name. I can't remember his actual name, but down in Georgia, car wreck, knocked him out, big fire. He was in the same burn center I was, and you know, unfortunately, God bless him, he didn't make it. But that, you know, solidifies what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the Grudge guys. You know, you walk up to Justin Swanstrom, Little Country's car, he's wearing everything there is. You know, J.R. Gray, you know, there's Scotty G. There's a lot of them that wear what they're supposed to, but there are also twice as many that don't. You know, and
Well,
I
that's
just
what somebody mentioned. Like if this video, if somebody gets this one, if one
right,
person gets this and they change it and they get safer, it's all worth it. And
right,
absolutely, I think
yeah,
we'll make a little bit more of an impact than that. But
right,
that's what
yeah.
there's definitely not enough people talking safety.
No, there's
Everybody
not.
mentions it, everybody knows about it, but not enough real talk around it, I don't think.
No, and you know, I think that it's one of those it's never going to happen to me deals. You know, it happened to such and such, or it happened to Lyle, but it's never going to happen to me, and that's the wrong mentality when it comes to that stuff. Because I somewhat thought it myself. I'd never had a crash. I'd never crashed a race car. I better knock on something. But
Sure.
you know, but my first crash was the big one. You know,
Right.
and you just you never know, and it can happen at any time. You know, I mean, I could have a big crash in my truck on the way to work in the morning, you know, but in the drag car, if it happens, it's too late. You know, there's nothing you can do when it's happening. You know, you can think about what you should have done, but you just never know, and it can happen at any time. You know, don't say, if you're racing this weekend, I'll make it one more race on these frayed belts, or I'll make it one more race on this old jacket. Don't do it. Stay home, because not only do you have to endure the pain and, you know, suffering and whatever, but your family, man, that is, I think about it all the time. Like what my family, what my mom, what my dad, what, you know, Melissa, what everybody had to go through while I laid in that hospital bed. You know, you don't want to do that to them. I mean, that is, you know, it got to be one of the worst feelings that I could ever imagine, and I don't want to imagine it. But man, you know, you just think about who you're going home to. You know, there's your wives, those of you who have children. You know, you can be really safe. You know, you can be safer in that race car than you are in your own car driving down the interstate, but that's up to you. You know, you've got to take it upon yourself to spend the money in the right places, get the right stuff, and take care of yourself. You know, and I am now. You know, I'm as safe as I could jump in a top alcohol funny car right now. You know, I'm as safe as I need as I can be. So, I just hope that, there's somebody out there who hears it and, does what they need to, does the things that they need to do to make themselves safer inside that race car.
So if there's anybody listening to this that knows of somebody that needs to hear this, or you got a group of racer friends, make sure you share this, tag some people. Let's get the message out there. I know it's out there, but if we can reach 5 more people, then, man, it's worth it. And I appreciate you going into it with me and talking about all of it, because it is huge.
Yeah, man, no problem. Before we get off here, I've got several I need to thank. Jason Digby first. Jason Digby first and foremost, man. It's just an honor. It's cool that somebody who doesn't drive their car, just owns it, pays for it. Like he just gives. He just handed me this opportunity. And I can't thank him, his wife Suzanne, his mom and dad, Pop and Kathy, Mag Gall, Michael. Big time on the chassis stuff. All the guys from Fulton, my dad, could not participate in the sport of drag racing without my dad, man. It's it's a lot of fun. Dad and I share a passion together, and and we've done pretty damn good. My mom for not handcuffing me to the railing at the house, let me get out here and do it. My family, Melissa, my girlfriend here, we've been through a lot, and they've stood right by me, supported my decision to get back in the sport. Pete Harrell, he deals with a lot of shit from me. I give him a hard time, and but he's one of the best out there. I think he's the best, if one of the best turbo and EFI tuners out there. Damn good engine builder, one of the best turbo and engine builders. Eric Yost, Customs by Biggin, both him and Pete out of Mooresville. Hell of a chassis guy. A big part of our team, and goes to the track with us, and he never bitches or moans about anything, never holds his hand out for money. He just a fun guy to have around, and damn good help. Charles Brayboy, big part of my program, a guy that comes and helps us race. Mark Rogers, Ultra Street Car, and then helps me. But new sponsors this year, we've got Doug Cook, Motion Race Works, came on board with us this year. Big time, man. They're an awesome group of guys. Spent a lot of time with them in Georgia. Had a great time. We've got Holly EFI on board, big help. Greg Slack, Torque Converters, Torque Converter Design Specialist, there it is. Dave Clapp, Performance Transmission, and Dykes and Strippers Wiring. Jeff Brandenburg, big time. Shannon Davis, Davis Traction Controls. Sebastian with AMS 2000. We've got Precision helping us out. They're a big help. MacFab Beadlocks, big time. Mickey Thompson. VP Racing Fuels. Wicked Graphics. We've got Jack French, like I said, Billet Atomizer came on board this year. Huge help. Pack Racing Springs is new this year. They're on board. I'm trying to go over the back of the car right now and make sure I don't want to piss somebody off and miss them. Let me think.
We can think about it, man. I'm in no hurry. We got a couple questions that came in about the Dart too. Is can you go over some of the suspension on it, or you just kind of want to go over the whole deal?
There's another good one. Mark Menser, big time. He's I call him at any time. Go get him at the track and drag him over there and make him crawl under the car. He's done, a number. It's a true leaf spring, split monoleaf, Smith Racecraft, Sasson bars. A true leaf spring deal. Mark Mentzer, the leaf spring shocks. They're a big part of our program. I think that's a little bit of a hidden secret when it comes to the leaf spring world. Your shock program's got to be there, man. You got to, and I think if you're going to go the leaf spring route, Mark Mentzer and John Mellon, the guys there at Mincer Motorsports is who I would call. They they've done a hell of a job with us and are always looking at us for some R&D and any changes they can make, which is cool to have that kind of support. But it's a pretty simple deal. It's Eric Yost at Customs by Biggin did all of the fab work on it, and got us set up, and the suspensions is pretty simple. We can't give away any of my measurements or tricks here because trying to stay ahead of this leaf spring game. But they're all good guys. They're just a lot of help from a lot of different people, and it's made this deal fun. I hope we represent them well, and I try to get them all out there.
Absolutely, man. You guys go rounds no matter what you're out doing. It's pretty crazy. What's the engine combo in the two-churcher?
It's a 547-inch Pete Harrell at a HED built big block Mopar, a true Mopar Indy block, Predator heads, and then we've obviously got the Precision 118 feeding it the boost. It's just a single turbo. Big block Mopar, man. It's pretty unique, which is cool from coming, that I never knew the Mopar following is huge. There are diehard Mopar guys out there, which is cool. I mean, that's awesome. But they come by and like, man, this thing's really Mopar, and it is, that's another cool and unique thing about Jason, is he's a Mopar guy through and through, and has put together just a very unique but a damn good combination. It works really well. We've made about just over half of the boost that turbo will make. So if we can, once this thing really gets moving, the LDR crowd is going to be in trouble with and our no dash ride here.
Sure. No, man, the car works. You guys are killing it. It's a crazy cool car to watch too. It just something different, I guess. Like you said, it just stands out, and it's neat.
Yeah, I like that. Being able to be a part of, and then the honor of driving something that unique is pretty cool. I mean, there aren't many darts. There aren't many Mopar powered anything, but there definitely are very few, if any, more Mopar powered darts, that are running in the radial deal. So it's pretty cool, and to still be on leaf springs, hold the world record, and we're just going to keep lowering. We've got some untapped potential. We were running out of injector, and like I said, Jack hooked us up. So we're going to keep lowering that leaf spring record. Couple of new combinations out there, leaf spring cars being built, but we ain't worried.
That just gives you more time to keep working on what you got going on. That's all.
That's right.
Is there anything else, man? I mean, I'm in no hurry. Whatever you want to talk about, anybody, anything. Anything else you want anybody to hear about?
Nah, man. I just, I hope the safety message hit home to a couple.
Sure.
That's I don't think you can stress it enough. It's so easily overlooked, but can be, just an awful deal. So I hope that hit home, and just definitely want to thank all my sponsors, all the people that help us do what we do. Couldn't do it without you. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy it, and I know that it's it can be a financial burden to many, and I try to stay as easy on Mr. Digby's wallet as I can, but we have a lot of fun, man. Like I said, I think we've assembled one of the best teams out there. Just so much know-how in our camp. A lot of drive to be good and be successful, and I'm really excited to see where we can go with this thing. I hope the LDR deal sticks around. I hope. It's a really cool class, a lot of stock appearing rides out there. So I hope that can stick around, because we've got a really competitive car. I've got my own car coming out later this year. We've got Dad and I built a 67 Camaro, going to do a roots blown Hemi deal.
Oh, wow.
Really just a transplant right out of the shadow. Stevie Jackson's car. I've been good friends with Stevie for many years and got hooked up with him on this deal, and we're going to go after the Pro 275 deal. And I'm gonna wheel both cars. Didn't really know how that would work out, but no way I could give up this hot seat in this dart. So
Sure.
go try to wheel the
Man,
deal
that's a
on,
cool
on
deal.
both ends.
That'll be interesting. The whole
we're
roots
going
blown deal and
yeah, we're going
275s, that'll be a wild deal.
we're going to focus on the no time deal here around home, and the dart's plenty fast, but we really have to lean hard on that thing to run up front around here. And I want to chase the LDR championship this year, and from here on out. And we're trying not to just beat Jason's equipment to death. So going to get my car put together with the roots blown deal, chase this no time stuff around here, and then run the Pro 275. The few races that there are for those guys around there. Josh Kluger's consistently in the 390s now, and there's a couple knocking on the door. So it's going to take a pretty fast hot rod to keep up with those guys. And so going to try to wheel the deal on several cars this year. I think I've got 4 or 5 to drive this year. So going to try to get it all done, man.
I guess with that and everything else, that's probably a good point to bring in the whole Drag Illustrated 30 under 30 or part of that. And
right. Yep. Yeah.
It's because you're out there doing it, man.
Yeah. What an honor. I cannot thank Wes Buck, JT, all the guys at Drag Illustrated, man. Just what a cool deal such an elite group, that to be nominated and then honored as one of the I guess the best 30 or the 30 under 30 in the first, this was the third. I think this was their third class, right? Yeah, something like that. So to be in the top, to be one of the first 100, just an honor, man. I was, super pumped about that deal. Tyler Crossnow held it from me for weeks on end, and then was able to, was the first one to tell me at PRI. So just a real honor, man. That's just such a cool deal. I've got the plaques and stuff in the house, and just very proud to be a part of that. A lot of hard work and dedication and some drive went into that deal, and just very an honor to be a part of that.
Very cool, man. Well, I appreciate you so much for jumping on here. If there's anything I can ever do, or you got anything else you want to talk about ever, you let me know and we'll get on this thing. And
cool deal. Yeah, I think Wes and I at Wes Buck and I had talked about it some, but I think an occasional every other month or so is a good down home beating on safety is not a bad idea. So anytime we want to do that, I'm down, dude. Anytime.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. We'll do it. No, absolutely.
Yes, sir. Well, it was good talking to you. I appreciate you having me on, and talk to you soon.
Good talking to you. Thank you, man. Have a good night.
Bud. See you.
Bye.